it wasn't that
like the goal that NYCFC scored on us.
Yeah, that was. So let's move to that one, right? So
But also,
we go up to NYFC, who play on the tiny field that's not FIFA approved, but they are getting a stadium in 2026, 27, supposedly.
They broke ground.
Yeah, that's supposedly the rumor.
This is New York construction, so
Who
knows? But it's supposed to be this unbelievable. So it's in Flushing Meadows Corona Park, which is the home of Citi Field and the United States Tennis Association. And so they're going to have 3 stadiums there. It's actually interesting because it's this nice park. It's where the World's Fair originally was, like where they film Men in Black on those crazy platforms. That was like supposed to be the future. Anyway, so because that's actually interesting because the park itself is a little bit on a hill. So when you have those viewing platforms, you can see all of Manhattan from it, which is kind of weird. But anyway, so Citi Field used to be Shea Stadium, and on the other side of it is all these auto salvage yards, and it's really kind of run down. But now that Cohen is the owner of the Mets, right, and he's the wealthiest owner in all baseball, he wants to redevelop it all. He wants one of the casino licenses from New York, the new ones. It's supposed to be, and that's where the New York City FC is going to be. Yeah. So good for us. Yeah. Good for everyone. I mean,
let's hope.
So if I were to tell you before this game day, we go to New York, NYCFC, that is, go to Yankee Stadium and get a draw, would you have taken it?
Take it.
Yeah, I would have taken it.
But actually, I'll say that, that being said, and I'll still say take it, but New York City FC, I know they've gotten off to a good start, but if you look at what happened to their roster, the coach is gone. Castellanos.
I think that's how you pronounce.
I can't remember how to pronounce it. Anyway, Morales is gone, right? Yeah. So a lot of the big names that have had them in the playoffs and fighting for a title every single year are all gone. So, I predicted, now obviously they've reloaded some young guys and whatever, but I predicted that this would be a terrible year for New York City FC, and we'll see. Yeah. I mean, I think the thing that unfairly keeps them in the league is that nobody can win there. Yeah. I mean, as you pointed out a number of years ago on the podcast, statistically speaking, it's the best home field advantage in all of sports. Compared to relative to the rest of the league, the winning percentage there is better than anything in U.S. sports, period. Yeah.
I did not.
Anything. Wow. It's the highest home field advantage ever. And that includes, in some sports where there's no salary cap, like Yankees, where they have a high, whatever. Doesn't matter. So that's kind of cheating.
Yeah. So we
statistically speaking, that's cheating.
Dave, we go to this game with the first time I think we've repeated the same starting lineup, right? So we had, once again, from the Red Bulls game, we had Gigi, Etienne, Araujo up top, Shedick, Almada, Ibarra in the mid, Wiley, Parata, Miles, and Lennon on the back line, and Goose in goal. I do want to talk about...
Well, let me just talk about the lineup since you're saying that. So, obviously, we feel very strongly that Sejdic is not better than Sosa, right? And Sosa, now that he's had a couple of games under him, right, in the last game, he looked for real back. Yeah. Right? I mean, in Toronto game was the first time I saw Sosa. Yeah. And when he back and, obviously he came in because Ibarra was gone, but with Ibarra in front of him, it's a platform in which to build this forward thinking, whatever. So other than that, I think I'm
Ibarra
okay.
As the red card guy is better, like he's our bruiser, and he's young. You got to learn, he'll learn how to play that line a little bit better and not get a red card next time. You hope. Yeah, I mean that's how you have to. But that's how you have to mature.
I wish
you don't want to take.
For those who don't know out there in the podcast world, she's talking about Man United Casemiro, who never got a red card in a zillion games at Real Madrid, and has now been red carded twice for Manchester United.
Bless his heart.
Bless him.
Manchester United, what are they, third in the table?
Third.
Yeah, there you go.
Solid third.
But
everybody's hurt. So,
So
just like Atlanta United.
I agree. I think Sosa and Ibarra and Almada in the mid is a solid midfield, especially with our back line.
especially when
do
you don't have to, when you're only asking them mostly to recycle the ball, and you just make a platform again for the front.
So now there's a goal in this game at the end where they play the ball up. Guy heads it to Ferreira. He just cuts at the top of the 18 and shoots with Parata, who was facing him and should have been able to close the space and never let him be able to take a shot. It was a hell of a banger.
Yep.
All to me getting to, do you think we should see Abram and at least like give some competition? Like, isn't that why he brought him in?
That's an interesting point.
Like, I know Parata, like, this is why I feel like, again, Pineda gives too much goodwill to people. Like, create some competition, dude.
Mm-hmm.
Like, give Abram like a start and then be like, hey, and give him a short leash. Be like, hey, we brought you in.
Well, the thing about
like, find a game earlier on, and he doesn't do it.
The thing that I would say is that, so normally if you had a coach you had confidence in, you would say, okay, look, he's getting a look at him every day, and he's not better than Parata, so Parata could still be a starter. And it's not like Parata's, had all kinds of problems. So, I'm okay with that. The thing about it is, what we know from Pineda is that if the team is kind of doing pretty well, he will never change anything. Like, he's one of these guys who it's weird because it's almost a lack of arrogance. The best coaches are like, I know. And, they, it doesn't matter if Sejdic and Ibarra are playing pretty well in the game. If you think that Sosa's the better player, they put him in there and get their lineup, almost to a fault. And he's almost to a fault the other way. We've seen this. We had, a 17-year-old, do really well. And he's like, oh yeah, they can start, in the MLS. And you're like, that's an exhibition game. He's a 17-year-old. What are you thinking?
Yeah.
Right. And, we talked about it, maybe the last podcast, whatever. I think that Pineda, maybe the whole heart of the matter, maybe the biggest problem is still his evaluation of players.
Yeah.
I think that he misses a little bit on understanding who's really good and who's not. And not just that, but what their strengths and weaknesses are. I'm not sure he truly knows. So, or at least he doesn't, necessarily agree with what we think.
Yeah, we hammered that pretty good on the last podcast on that, and I agree. I mean, I think it's still, I still want to keep giving credit to Pineda for the culture that he's built in terms of, like, if you call that coaching, he has built a positive group of players that are motivated to play. I think he's being bailed out a lot by having a lot of talent. When you have Almada and Yakamakis and Miles Robinson and all the other players surrounding it, as long as you have them on the field and are doing some things that are relatively correct, you should be getting the results that we're getting.
Well, one thing
we could be a lot better.
To your point, it wouldn't surprise any of us if suddenly, let's say Parata were to get a little knock or something, or even he just gets a rest, Abrams comes in, and it turns out that Abrams is really good, right? It wouldn't surprise any of us, right? Because, and it could even be that Pineda thinks he's really, really good. But even if that's true, he won't change it. He'll go the entire freaking season if he has to, because the team is, in a good place and whatever. I think that's his thing. And, there's some of that, of course, but, a good player is a good player.